Welcome to BenKyo Study Group class number 102. BenKyo style, complex Joseki, simple solution, 3-4 pincers. So I'm sure some of you have experienced some of these pincers that often lead to complex Joseki, or sort of want you to go into complex Joseki if seemingly if you want to play optimal. Like with the common one space low pincer, the most common move for black is this pressing move. But white doesn't usually push like this and play something like that or like that, allowing black to easily just go ahead and pincer now. Usually white pushes and cuts, and we get into this stuff. And although this is a little bit easier maybe to play through than this one, which even 5-den plus players can easily mess up pretty badly. Same thing with the high one here. It still can be pretty complex. Yeah, can still be pretty complex. Like if black is playing here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, like after this, and then if black is playing here, for example, or various other moves, if you don't know them, or like if white changes this up. We do have a simplified version of this Joseki if white wants to play it that way, which is like this. Yeah, so if you're white, for example, you could choose this. And what we see frequently from here, I mean, in the past, white would go here or here, but yeah, this is the most optimal one usually. Yeah, the transition was like here, and then I think people started playing here, and then now it's here. And black plays here. You can also put it low, but either way, there's going to be stuff white can do. Like if white has a stone here, then yeah, there's some ways to use the aji of the one stone inside. Most common continuation is for white to jump down like this. And then it's common also for white to attach here. But we're not going to get into that right now, although that information by itself could be helpful for those of you who are already playing this one. And it's fine for black to just respond, for example. No need to ignore this move. Right, so let's go to, how are we going to avoid the complications, right? So the pincers we're going to look at today, we're going to look at this one and this one, the 2-space low. We're also going to look at the 2-space high, like I showed briefly earlier. And then we're going to look at the high approach with the 2-space low. Okay, so before we actually really get into them, I'm going to give you guys a background on a certain technique that comes up in some Joseki shapes, as it's going to show itself later, and treat this as like its own mini lesson by itself, like especially if you're watching the video later again, or those of you who didn't make it to the class live. This next part here, you can kind of treat this as its own thing that you can learn first, and then proceed with the rest of the class. And so what we're going to talk about is going to come from this moment, from after white plays this kind of 2-space extension. It's a pretty old school move that we really don't see a whole lot these days, but you can play it. We see here or here more often, and kick and pincers. We don't see this one too much. If white plays here, where would you guys like to play? For those in the know, there I have kind of given it away a little bit, what the technique is going to be. Yeah, Tanuki is possible, but of course when you Tanuki, you might get kicked and like pincered, for example. So you will suffer some kind of disadvantage there. And actually, even for these pincers in general, a lot of these pincers, you can actually Tanuki. That's one of the options. We're not going to talk too much about the Tanukis, but it's kind of like a quick detour, right? All of these pincers, you can actually ignore them. Of course, if you're not very good at making use of aji that's left over from mostly dead groups, then you're going to lose out a little bit from it potentially. But it's kind of like, let's say white plays here, and then you just wanted to avoid complications. And white plays here to punish you. And then you just do other stuff again, right? Then if white finishes off your group like this, one way to think of this is that it's a bit like white had a one space high enclosure there, right? This move, which is pretty normal. And then white played a really, really slow move here, right? Which is a little bit bad. But then black played one bad exchange like this, right? So that's one way you could think of it when it ends up like this, is like, you know, you have one weird, you know, placement inside and then white respond. But you also have this really slow, you know, 3 stones from white. So that's like a kind of a proof that you can sacrifice. Of course, it depends on how white is doing it, right? Maybe instead, for example, white might kick it, or even like try to surround it big. Yeah. So you can certainly ignore these pincers, actually, like even this one too. Any of them, really. So keep that in mind, that you can ignore, right? Although if your opponent never follows up on your Tanuki, like if you ignore this and your opponent also ignores for a while, and you guys just both fill up the board, then eventually you should come back and deal with this and play stuff, right? So we're going to learn how to actually respond and continue here. Now regarding this part, you guys mentioned E16, C12, C17. Yeah, so this one would be pretty normal. This one works. This one works, yeah. You can do it because it reverts to like you pressed white down. Yeah. And perhaps white would like to play around here now. Although, yeah, don't have to. So actually what I'm going to show you guys is this technique, because you guys already know the press. You guys already know E16. But how many of you have seen this one in this type of shape, this type of 2-space extension shape? So let's say that white responds. If white counters like this, then you can, you know, basically turn it into some kind of an exchange. So for example, after this, maybe white is going to fix the shape on the other side, and then you get this big corner. So you have to stop thinking too much about your stone over here, but in exchange, you got a huge corner, right? And if white blocks now, then there's going to be some very serious aji here, like stuff black can do here, or even just this one as well, still here. So so it's pretty easy to deal with white's counter here. So normally your opponent's going to play here, right? And where would black's next move be? Now you could revert like this, right? Or not really revert, but end up with something similar to this one. But there's something else we can do. What else can we do? D16 links up, but the problem is you give white this really nice corner. Yeah, it's a bit too much corner for white. What we're actually going to do is we're going to attach in here now, and then play here. So first of all, if white counters like this, it's actually pretty good for black, because normally white should always be haneing here to keep some of the corner and prevent black from getting a huge corner. This stone over here already paid for itself because you made white just block. It's like, imagine that this happened, which is very bad for white, by the way. And then this would be even making it worse for white, worse and worse. But then imagine also that black went in, and even though white is pretty strong, white just passively responds like this, right? So, I mean, anyway, this black stone is a stone that you would not want to run that stone, because what is that stone even doing for black? It's black at this point. It's doing nothing. What that stone did for black was it convinced white to give black this. It already did its job. Don't even bother trying to save it. Black is way better than white here. So even after this exchange has been made, You know, some might think that white should try to, you know, disconnect and make that stone bad, but by trying to think that way, they make themselves bad in this case. So this is gonna be good for black. So white still needs to play here. And then black plays here, and white would usually want to connect like this, prevent from getting broken into like that. Now, who do you guys prefer here? White or black? Is it better for black, even, or better for white? I mean, it's about even. It's about even. Even though black gained a lot of free extra stones, white also gained solidity, which has a little bit of value in that, like, there's nothing, like, there's no special, like, attach moves in the future taking advantage of white's, you know, only 4 liberties, or like this kind of attach, or in some special cases, like having a stone here and then having certain tesujis inside on the second line. Or having like this kind of attaching move, aiming to get a bunch of forcing moves. You know, stuff like that, right? When you become rock solid like this, you become invulnerable to like attaching moves that end up just not really doing anything to white. So whenever you become solid, there is some kind of something that you gain. You know, black chooses these options over other future options that could appear in the future. So, but here's the point of this black F16, this pressing move here. Why does black do it exactly in this order? Well, notice that the white stones here are just like in a row, like that. That's actually not that efficient, right? They're like 1 by 1, right? And take note that black should not help that one stone. It's just a pebble in white's way. It's not meant for black to actually care about it. You know, you made white block here, which didn't gain white anything. So there's no big investment for black into that black stone. So there's no reason to save that stone, right? It's not getting any territory. So let's change the order of moves just to see something. What happens if black just attaches here right now? White Hanes, black plays here, maybe white wants to stay connected. Then what if black plays here? Where would you guys play? Yeah, G16 looks pretty good. And, you know, there's moves like this that also make those cuts not really do anything. Right? Or you could imagine this one. You shouldn't want to play here. This is like the most inefficient way that you could respond, right? Just like directly fixing, not gaining anything new, right? But what about if black plays it now? Now you want to play F17, don't you? This is the timing, right? This is the beauty of this kind of timing stuff in Go. So by doing it exactly right now, black is able to manipulate white's shape into becoming such that it is as if, right? It is as if black plays the move at 1 right now and white plays 2. Even though it actually happened first, right? This is Tewari analysis. Okay, but that's a subtlety. I wanted to show you guys that technique because it is going to pop up like at least a couple more times later on in the variations we're going to look at, which by the way are mostly going to be pretty simple. The point of this is going to be that no matter how weak some of you might be, or how, let's say, unconfident you might be in the really technical situations, or how daunting you might find it to learn to study complicated Joseki, especially with like pincers and crosscuts and you know, that's the point of this class. The point of this class is so that you can parry those pincers without actually having to lose much in terms of like, uh, let's say AI optimization. Let's call it that. So most of the solutions I'm going to be showing are either stay about even with the opponent or lose like well under 1 point, which is a lot less than you would lose if you try to do the thing that is going to become clumsy and difficult. Especially when your opponent, when you play people who play this kind of pincer, right? These pincers, yeah, these are the people that we can that fall under the alignment of chaotic evil. These people, these horrible people pincering us, right? So we need to, we need to stay away from that because usually people who play these pincers have studied these pincers. And that's why when you go, let's say here, they're going to cut you, right? And so, the odds of you actually doing well in it when they've studied it and you haven't, and you're also some sort of Q level, let's say, then it's going to be a sad story. Yeah, actually, same thing happened to me. I've messed up in, let's say, like this one and this one many times. I've seen other people around my level also mess up really, really hard. And some of the stuff I'm going to be showing you guys, the simplifications. I actually started playing moves like those in my serious games. Even in like the Masters, North American Masters tournament in the Congress, stuff like that. And I started to actually win more against certain people. And just have a higher win rate in general. And then I didn't have to like worry about the Joseki knowledge as much in the beginning. And I could just focus on, what I wanted to focus on in the game. The game didn't have to become about the pincer, right? The whole game becomes about the pincer when you mess it up. So these are moves that that I'm perfectly willing to play, and I think are more than good enough to use. And so let's take a look. So first we're going to look at this one space low pincer, right? And how do we avoid this one? Well, we can jump. Jump is going to be the main move I'm going to recommend. So before we look at this one, which is white's most common response, bear in mind that if white ever just extends somewhere here, you should just, as soon as you do this, white is just bad. Even if white makes the corner alive, it's still bad for white. So that's kind of all you need to know. White is just bad. Even with the 4-4 point, right? With the 4-4 point, if your opponent allows you to play this, it doesn't matter how easily white lives, white's bad. So that's all you really need to know for now. That's why, white should add some sort of move on this side. In the first place, this jump with the 4-4 point is not very, it's mostly Q players who use it because in my experience, Q players, not everyone, but like your typical SDK, let's say, really hates getting sealed in general. Just the kind of the concept of being all sealed in tight, something like this, for example. Like, let's say this is a Sanrensei formation, a 3-star opening, then, people don't like this, even though black is actually fine, right? Or for example, even the newer one. Yeah, so people constantly jump. Like, when I'm watching or reviewing games for like 4Q or 8Q or whatever, or playing against them, they always jump out. Well, I guess when I do teaching games in like private lessons, people often jump in here, but I feel like part of that is also because they're playing against me, and so they're trying to do like they remember the more textbook thing. Or maybe just the BenKyo League people, for example, have had enough training at this point. But typically I see this a lot, but when you go past a certain level, like 2 or 3 down, let's say, then you don't really see this jump too much. Okay, anyway, back to this one. So we're gonna look at this move. So this knight's move is the most common, but let's look at this one first. Okay, any ideas? we still have to solve the situation for black because white is the one who is developing both sides, right? And white has already denied us. With C13, white has denied us the ability to easily make something locally, territory-wise. So we need to actually proactively do something here. Such is the case whenever you're pincered. You have to be the one to figure something out. E13. Okay. That move is going to be okay. This is a move that cannot be too bad. Yeah. It's a bit lackluster. White can just play here, and then we have to keep going. I'm pretty sure this move, if I were to... Oh, by the way, I wish I didn't have to mention this, but like make sure you guys have the AI off, because that's going to create a lot of confusion for you and also give away answers sometimes too. Yeah, I wish OGS would get rid of that, but yeah. But what I was gonna say about AI is that if I were to check it right now, probably that move is, yeah, 0.4. It's not losing much. B17. B17 is gonna be okay. I was tempted to make this one of the recommendations to you guys because it does help settle pretty easily, but it does have one aspect that's very much leaves something to be desired, which is the fact that white is right here low. It means we don't have any good follow-ups from this group in terms of expanding the base this way. If I could draw an arrow properly this way. Not only that, but sometimes white will have a Tetsuji here, which will be annoying in some later game contexts. Like if we try to take it, then they can cut and then cut through, right? And if we pull back, then it feels like white gained something already, right? So, yeah. We actually could still use the technique from earlier, which is like, it looks a little awkward when we do it with the stone already here. But basically, we're going to peep there, we're going to attach, and we're going to do this again. Yeah. This is actually, believe it or not, this is actually normal. It's weird because now we have an exchange of that stone for that stone. Like if we take off those stones, we're going to return to what we looked at in the beginning of the class, right? Yeah, then you can counter pincer, or you might be able to also press here. Out of curiosity, I'll check the... I'm pretty sure they're both fine. Let's check the AI. Yeah, they're both fine. They're both close to 0, which means they're both good. So somewhere here or somewhere like this, it's both good. And you still have the option of going here. You even have the option in the future of doing this and then fighting Ko. That's actually a really important one to know about, by the way. I mean, I should rephrase that. You don't need to know about that for this, any of this stuff that we're looking at. But just in general, you know, for those who might have forgotten that you could do this, right? It's just good to know. You don't want to do it unless you have co-threats prepared, though. But yeah, it's a pretty handy technique, though. Okay, so even though black stones look a little bit concentrated and odd, white stones are too. And we get to be the first one to act on that stone over there. So this is actually fine for black. So that's already one case where this has come up that I wanted to show you guys, right? So you know that you're going to attach and do this, but now if you peep, they're not going to connect. They're going to do something more efficient. So that's why you do the peep first. Okay, now let's look at what happens if white plays here. What are your ideas? Ooh, H16. That one is actually very valid. It's not one of my. It's not what I'm gonna recommend, only because you know it or you don't know it. It's kind of like more complex. Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised you knew that one, Buzzsaw, because it's old school, but it's also not that simple. Yeah. Like normally, I would expect people that are more like around one dan kind of level to maybe know this one. Yeah. I bet that what Yang showed you is, I mean, there's a few variations, but I bet you that it was probably the one of the variations that I remember, which I think is like, let's see, there, push, attach, here. White can hane, but let's say here. And then hane, da, 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 like that. Yeah, there's some other variations, but that's the one where white extends instead of hane, extends at C12. Anyway, so what I'm gonna share is this pushing. You know, this also probably relates to Yang and other, you know, old school Go people, because this is like, you would get slapped on the wrist for playing this. Pushing from behind on the 5th line, giving away that sweet, sweet 4th line territory, right? But actually, these days, this is considered fine. AI is the one that, you know, changed our mind about this. Now, even before AI, high level players would also do it in certain contexts when you got to do what you got to do, but not in a basic, simple, empty context like this. This would be like maybe now and then you might see it when black has some stuff around here, and that we know that we want a pincer, right? But especially with this being white, now it's still going to be AI approved and it's still going to be recommended. But if this were black down here, it would be especially nice to pincer. But we're still going to look at the pincer here. And so how it's going to work is we're going to push a couple times. You also could push once, but then push later when you need to. The reason you can wait on this extra push is because this double hane here is absolutely intolerable for whites. Before we proceed, do you guys kind of agree about that, or do you feel like it's not a big deal? Now, you might be wondering, why are black stones there not in danger? It's because if you look at the white liberties of these stones, like, long story short here, especially with black's push at A always being sente when it's needed, they really have like no liberties. So white is the one who would collapse if they try to capture black. And in fact, the liberty shortage you see on these marked stones is exactly the heuristic you look for that tells you to double hane. Like, this is the kind of shape that I would double hane without even thinking, because it's just like trained in. It's like visually trained in. So technically you can push this whenever you want to, but at least in this shape, you actually don't lose anything by pushing again. And I'm going to suggest pushing again just so that the whole everything is easier. Easier to remember, easier not to forget to do things, you know. Just push again. It might even be the blue move here. I think at least it's got a good score. I think maybe it's not the blue move, but so what I'm gonna suggest here is push, and then pincer, something like this. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of a fight, but how is the fight gonna go? So why are we doing all that pushing and giving away that territory? Well, pincer means we're trying to attack that stone. Attack that stone means that stone might run, right? If that stone runs, then our group might become weak, right? And then who's attacking who? And because we're the one giving away territory up here, we definitely want to be the one who is the attacker. Because if we can't attack and gain something back through attacking, to then make up for this cash we gave away, then what are we even doing here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pincer, and if white jumps, then, well, look at these marked stones. Now we are in the perfect position to cap. That's the prep in action, right? Now, would you say it's easy for you guys to imagine that white might run this way and we might go this way and get the points here? Does that make sense? Because that's probably like literally the next two moves. White jumps out with some sort of jumping out move, and black plays something like c6. And there you go. Just from doing that, we've accomplished a couple things. We have developed some territory here, which already starts to counter this. And even after that, probably white is still the weaker one in this overall situation, if even by a little. And that is the importance, by the way. This is like a broader important thing. It's who's attacking who is very, very important, and you don't want to let it flip. So there's two things to focus on when you're doing these kind of pincer jumping battles. Number one is where your profit is going to manifest, right? Like, why are you doing what you're doing, and how is it going to end up giving you something in return, right? And number two, like, you can't just focus on survival. If you only think about that, you're going to end up with no points and just focusing on something which is not the game objective, right? And number two is make sure that if you're the attacker, you stay the attacker. That means don't let them overtake you. So for example, let's say white plays here. And let's say we play here. We think that we're pressuring white by going on the fourth line, right? And then let's say white plays this. Let's just say, right? And then you just keep like insisting on attacking white, and then, you know, but now look what's happening. You're getting encircled over here. You're getting distracted. You're getting you're looking too small. You're not seeing the big picture, right? So we need to make sure that this group here stays as the dominant one. Yeah. That's why you have to add moves to this every so often to, you know, show this group here who's boss, while you're also like here and there adding moves to this area. Okay, so that's a little bit about that. I don't think we need to look too much past this moment, because it's very clear right now that white needs to move out some more, like this one or this one, something like that. And because of that, it's very clear also that black is going to get to settle this group. And then if white moves out more this way, black just also moves out, and then everything is fine, right? Long-term fighting, no problem. We also still have access to this A as black, so, you know, we're not in danger. Okay, and if white plays something like this, then what? What should we do? Yeah, d12. Why not? Nice and simple. And this is in fact good enough for black. This move and jumping here are both AI approved. And I mention that only because I actually don't recommend like most levels to spend too much time with AI or get in the weeds of it. But some of you do care about that stuff. And so, yeah. Like many lessons I created, I didn't use AI in any way. But depending on what it is, especially if it's Joseki stuff like this, I do fact check myself, and I do explore variations, especially when I'm coming up with unique solutions of Joseki stuff. But I also like to just make sure that I'm not ever gonna spout nonsense to you guys, right? Because, yeah, like players around my level can still be Even pros, actually, from what I've seen, can still be very wrong about stuff, right? Especially in the age of AI, when there's someone strong enough to actually tell them that they're wrong, right? So, yeah. Yeah, so I would recommend this one. This one's way simpler than this one. And even this one, like if I check the AI right now, it loses 0.4, which is more than acceptable because it's so much simpler. 0.4 points is nothing. Yeah. I think even non-top professionals can accept something like that. Like lower level professionals, let's say. Especially like North American or European professional players. Okay, anyway. Okay, one more thing to look at is what if white uses this one? Ah, there's a question. E13. E13. Well, what is your objective with E13? That's the first question, right? What is our goal of this black move that we're choosing? E13. Oh, E11. Ah, okay. This one makes more sense. This one doesn't really do the job, this one here, because white can just go through, right? This one makes a lot more sense. Yeah, this is possible. It's possible. Let's, I don't think I need to, but for fun, let's check the AI on that one. Yeah, 0.5. So it's okay. Yeah. You can choose whatever you like. So in this particular case, you can choose this one, or this one. Okay, one more thing to check then. That's pretty easy, right? So if white sacrifices, you just take it. If white runs out, you cap. That's what those pushes were for. We actually maintain a good shape too. And if they play here, then what? What do you think? E10, C11, E10. Oh, D10, yeah. Not E10. That's gonna be a disaster. Yeah. C11, possible. Yeah, the most common would be this one. And then if white extends, first of all, we have a shape move we can play, which is this one. This one makes white's shape a little bit awkward. Like if they go there, you can peep, right? A little bit awkward for white. And if they go here, then you can bump again. And then, you know, maybe jump. This is an easy fight for black too. Like even if white plays here, black can just go out and fight. Or maybe black pushes once and then plays here. Also possible. That way, if white plays here, we can still get out. So now it's just long-term fighting, right? You just have to take basic care of this group and this group. And like any such fight, it's one of those things where one of the best forms of defense is paying attention to your offense or, you know, your opponent's defense. So yeah, usually these kind of fights go ironically awry when we only think about our own groups. Then you end up in trouble actually, because your opponent's weaknesses are actually a source of your own defense a lot of the time. But yeah, so that's that. It's very clear that if we get to play here, we're gonna make up for this. And if we don't get to play here, then probably we'll at least be able to dominate the fight on this one. And who knows how that's gonna go, but probably we at least get a bunch of influence or something more than white. So yeah, and if they jump, then probably we peep here to stop the tiger mouth. If they connect, then we probably just start to, maybe we play the shape move. Other than this shape move here, probably going out like this or pushing. And as soon as possible, we will go here. But also if white gives us, we're also very happy to get this one if we get the chance. Like if white ignores knight's move here. Yeah, or you could push and then play there. They turn, you just jump. Easy fighting. Okay, let's move on from this now. So the basic idea here that I'm recommending, if they extend like this, we're just gonna peep and do this one, and then either press or pincer. And if they play high, we're gonna push, and then pincer. I recommend the 2-space pincer. The reason is because if you do 1-space pincer, not only does white still have this option of fighting, but now if they sacrifice, you might be kind of small here. Like, let's say it looks like this. There's still things white can do to benefit from that deadstone. Like white has forcing moves around like here, and even this one later on. And when you're a little bit too narrow here, it starts to feel like this pushing here was like retroactively becoming bad, right? Giving away stuff here. Does that make any sense to you guys? Like the fact that we don't need such a big wall just to get this, just to get such a small thing. Like the closer our stuff is to our own wall, the worse our result is in general. So I recommend going at least 2 spaces away, but that's not really a strict thing. It's just my recommendation. Yeah. This brings back memories when I would play at this Korean Go club I used to go to way back in Toronto, where I live. They would constantly do this like those older Korean folks, right? They were constantly doing this kind of pushing things and pincering long before AI, long before AI, and it's just part of their frisky fighting style. And every time they did that, I noted like they tended to, at least certain people, maybe certain level, they tended to do these close pincers. Probably the close pincer felt the most aggressive to them, but at a certain point, I was able to do pretty well against those because I just kept sacrificing the stone. I'm like just glad that they didn't do a long pincer, because a wider pincer almost forces us to fight, to prevent them from getting too much efficiency, right? This one, I'm happy to sacrifice it. Okay, now we're gonna move on to yeah, let's move on to this one. Okay, show of hands, who has had trauma related to this move? You know, the thing that started my research, let's call it, my research into these various pincer parries, pincer avoidance strategies, with a little bit of AI research and stuff mixed in there, was actually Pergo with Buzzsaw at the Congress, because I was thinking about like what moves would make it the easiest for her to continue on with the next move, right? When it's her turn, because we're playing Pergo, and the opponents were doing these like complicated pincer things. So I think that one of the games, I think it was something like this, and we were playing a stronger, I think our opponents had a stronger average level too, if I remember correctly. I think it was like I think I was higher level than them, but the two of them were like both similar level, which is like, I think they tend to have an advantage of it. If you have like let's say like me and Buzzsaw, so like 8Q or so and 6 down or whatever, versus like a couple of 1Qs or a couple of 2Qs, I would put my money on the 2Qs, right? Because they're both like pretty strong and the same level as each other too. And the go is very unforgiving, right? Like a single mistake costs everything. So anytime you have like a balanced pair versus the more polarized pair, I'm pretty sure the polarized pair has a disadvantage. Just from the mere fact that Go is like really unforgiving for even like one bad move. And also, yeah. And they can also strategically make it so that I respond to meaningless moves, and they could keep making my partner do the tough ones, right? Anyway, so I came up with this one, and then simply playing here, and then later I ended up researching it a little bit with AI checking, like for myself, for my serious games, for myself, and I found that this is only losing like, I mean, we can check, it's like half a point or something. So like right now the game is even with white plus 0.1, 0.2. And even the slide right now, it actually is getting, at least for the OGS, the Katako, it's getting a score of 0, which means it's like losing nothing. Or so it says, but then I see the score bar change by 0.2, so that's a bit contradictory, but basically we only lose like less than half a point, so it's very, very playable. Very, very playable. And if white pushes, we just extend. And if you think about it, white hasn't settled any of these groups yet, right? So yeah, whereas black is pretty much alive. Black has access to the center as well as A, and if need be, B, right? Like later. So black is very easy to handle actually, and there's no complication at all. So, yeah, my main recommendation is to jump here. Yeah, jump here and then slide. And one of the reasons why I choose this one here is because we still have access to the slide at A. I think that's an important, valuable follow-up to have. Nice and easy, right? Nice and easy. With this white stone being, if white played at B12, run to center. B12. Oh, if white plays here, or let's say here, right? There's a lot of things you could do here. Let me think. I mean, you could even play, if you really want to, you could even play this. And then even if they settle, like you have like this push if you want it. These two stones aren't even settled themselves, so we can even still pincer them. They also haven't blocked this yet, right? So there's no territory here. And if they do block this, it doesn't really make sense because they're blocking off nothingness, right? So they need to not put the cart before the horse. They need to extend first. Or maybe pushing and then something like that. Even this, black can still play here. Should you? Maybe not, but you can. You can survive. Yeah, so pretty easy, pretty easy. But when your opponent does play here, you just need to take note of it, right? Don't ignore it. You have to think about it, right? So maybe push, and there's a lot of things you can do. Like you could push, and Tanuki because you might feel safe enough now. You could, you could pincer white back and fight. You could bother white from here. Like there's a lot of options. If they turn, you just jump. Or you could, this cap would be like a little generous, I would say. But it kind of depends on what they look like over here. You can make that judgment yourself. But you do want to be careful of just not being like too generous. Like, just like with any game of Go, if you play too many moves that make your group more comfy, but are not really getting points and you're giving away points, then you could lose by doing that too much. So, you don't want to put too much into your own safety. I mean, especially when you still have access to this one, right? It doesn't mean you should play this right now. It just means like you have access to it, so you're very very safe. Even here, like this move's probably okay. This is like aiming to attack these and also aiming to pincer here or here. Like that's actually I kind of like that move actually. I just kind of randomly placed it right now, but if they settle somewhere here, then we can be super annoying on this white group. And if they try to turn, they shouldn't because we get a tiger mouth. So probably white plays like this, or Yeah, even if they attach, we're very happy for it to go like this. Very, very happy. So probably white plays the diagonal. And suddenly white's under attack. It's kind of backwards, right? So we're going to get our chances now to make back some territory. So now we got territory here and we got territory here. And white only got this one. So pretty good, pretty good. And so assuming that white plays somewhere like that, well, we can press if we think it's good for the board, right? Something like that. And then maybe even pressing again or playing like this. And after this, maybe 3-3. Yeah, or we can pincer. I'm sure a lot of people would like to pincer here. So, you know, nothing I've shown so far is that complicated, is it? Okay. So, we did that one. Now we can, so we actually ended up talking about this one. Let's actually talk about this 2-space low pincer now. Yeah, the 2-space high pincer came up in my example about the Perigo with Buzzsaw. And I actually got a chance to use this in one of my serious games, like right after. I think I thought about it that same night, and then in the morning I got to use it, and I won that game. I think, yeah, I won that game. My opponent, I realized that this opponent kind of just like plays Go to get into all these complications, and when you don't let them do these like, it's an interesting type of player. When you don't let them do these complicated things and tricky things, they just don't know what to do. It's like they've conditioned themselves to be like allergic to just taking territory. Instead, they have to scheme. They have to scheme and set up little things and little weaknesses and try to catch you. And you don't let them catch you because you stay extremely, extremely vigilant. And then they just don't have points. I remember realizing this about many players when I was like strong SDK and lower Dan. I had this realization about many people I was playing too. Some people are doing that. They don't want to just take territory. They're not very good at endgame. They just want to kill stuff and find, cut something off. Okay, let's look at this one. So this one is similar. If we try to press, then it's going to get complicated. If we play something like this, then they can get the corner. Maybe like this, actually. And then it's a bit awkward for black to try to figure this out. Like what is black going to get? Like if black goes here again, then can go like that. And this white corner is already alive, so we can't really do much to it. So this one's easy, but it's not very inspiring. It doesn't look very profitable. You can play this. What I don't like about this here, right? At least when the corner here. So here's the thing. If this is a black corner, let's say that this is a black corner. If this is a black corner, then that move here isn't that different from the one space pincer, right? So we could still do the same thing where if white plays like this, we push, and then we pincer. Very similar, right? Very similar. If they jump, then we can cap. Or if we don't like what this turn is doing to black's shape, then we could push again and then cap. Same thing. Basically, we're going to do two things. We're going to make territory here to make up for this one. And we're going to keep an eye on the group dynamic to make sure that this one maintains dominance over this white one. That's what you want to pay attention to as the flow is going, right? Don't let this white group overtake, like, encircle the black group. That's it. Once you boil it down to that, and then you start to kind of pay attention to that in your kind of like zoomed out view of things, these fights can get a little bit easier, at least in the abstract element of it, or the large scale element of it. You know, the details are still tough, right? The fine details, like, oh, if black peeps here, can white push? What happens with this? Right? Those details. So especially if this is your corner here, then you could still employ the same push, push, push thing, right? And then pincer. That thing is just kind of in your arsenal now, right? But I have a different recommendation. Now, in terms of this one that we just looked at, what's the problem with this in this case, right? We just talked about the slide that was inspired by that Parago game, but what's wrong here? And I mentioned it earlier. Exactly. B12 is not available, right? If the stone was high, we have a really attractive move still available here. Not only for getting points and kind of leaking under, also leaking under when white builds something here, right? Then we can leak under. Or if white plays there, then we can still enter here. Vice versa, right? So white plays here, we can still go in here. White plays here, we can still slide under here. But also for safety too, right? For eye space. So because it's low, I don't like this one very much. I'm not going to recommend. You're still going to survive easily, but I think it becomes a bit more, a bit suboptimal. So I have a very special move recommended here. Ba-ba. Whoa. Okay, this move might seem very alien and weird because it's an elephant jump, but it's actually simpler than you think, and it avoids pretty much all complications, so hear me out. Normally, if black were to get, we're trying to avoid this crosscut, right? But imagine if white pressed like this, then suppose we played here now. Pretty normal looking move. Because black is pincered, so it's common for black to play some kind of jumping out move. This one, this one, this one, whatever you're comfortable with. And then white tries to play this. Well, the thing about this move, this is trying to cut us off. There's nothing else this is trying to do. It's trying to cut things off, right? But the problem is, if we look at this white shape, it's going to come into play. So black simply blocks and says, okay, thank you. I'm getting thicker towards the center. White proceeds to cut. And white is about to collapse horribly. Even with like several variations that would work. There's a lot of variations that would work here. Number one, I'll answer that after. It's a trap, yes. E D14. You probably mean E13, right? It's pretty much a trap. So if we Atari here and then go down, this is creating A and B, and white is dead with one of those groups. Make sense? So if this one, then boom, dun dun, and that's kind of almost GG in a high level game. That's very terrible for white. And if white does anything here, black just captures two stones like this. Another way black could do it is simply with pushing once here and then capturing like this. And although some of these punishments are better than others, but even if we had black pushing and cutting here now, that's also going to work. In fact, white still has to add another move here. Now, of course, white got a lot of corner territory, so we could do much better with the other punishments, but you get the point. The point is that white is, white is so full of weaknesses there. That's the point. So this, here. So this white move is nonsense. They can't do it. Because after you block here, white has no good continuation. This cut for white is absolute self-destruction. Okay? So, like I said, you can either simply push here and then Atari, or like Atari first to lock them in and then push here and then like, yeah, or you just go down and then you have A and B. So white can't do it. So what we're simply doing is doing this one first. And so now maybe it's going to click for you, because if white plays this one, which is the one move that black is scared of, right? This is like the one move that makes you think that E13 is such a bad idea at first glance, right? But guess what? We're gonna do this one now. It's just a changed order of moves. And the simple fact here is that anything other than playing here is bad for white. So for example, white plays here. We're just going to push once and play there. Bad for white. White plays here. We're going to do that. Block. Get to the thing from before. Bad for white, right? A and B. Again, right? So it all just reverts to each other, to the same thing. So it's like we did this first, and this one happened. Or we go here, they fall for it, and then we go here. Dun, 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 block. Or, yeah, if they cut through here, we'll just take that. Better for black. Even though white's not fully dead, it's in the corner, it's still better for black. That's all you gotta know for that much, okay? So, like I said, this move is way simpler than it looks. If they come through, you switch to this one. And if they push and cut, you just take what they give you. You just go bum, bum, and then play net. No problem. White gets something, yeah. Why shouldn't they get something, right? And if they try to push through here, it's also terrible for white. You can just do that one, and even if all you do is this, it's very good for black. Because this was white's corner, and black gets a very luxurious corner. You could even go here, and white still has to do that. And then maybe something like that. Or here. That's it. Okay, now what about white's peaceful moves? So here's how it would go if white plays a bit more reasonable. Okay, there's a question though. Why E13 instead of G17 after the one space jump? Are you talking about this? E13. E13. Can you share a variation maybe? Because I don't know what you're referring to. G17. You mean, oh, why E13 instead of G17? I think white always should go G17. E13. Yeah. I mean, if black is pressing, then white should continue. So anytime that white pushes here, white also plays here. Why E13 instead of G17 after white one space jumps? E13. G17 is already played by white, right? So I don't understand the question. What do you want black to play right now? What's the alternative for black that we're talking about? E13. Can you rephrase the question? I don't know what the question is. Sorry, I'm too confused, so I'm gonna continue. Sorry. But if you figure out like the clear question, you can post it. But I really don't know what the question is. Yeah, so what was it? Okay, so if white plays peaceful stuff, right? For example, here, we have a very easy solution now. Ba-ba! Doesn't it look strange? Okay, I'll circle back to that in a sec. But put your question too, like the wording of your question, because I might look at the variation and then still not know what you're asking. So put a question. So this is actually going to set up A and B. A could also be B over here. So basically it's setting up A or C, but A could also be B depending on the board and depending on how you want to play it. So this is a situation that's setting up Miai of like doing something up here or doing something there, right? So that means, and it's so simple. It's so simple to play this and then to play this, right? Wow, so simple. And then if white plays on this side, we're gonna just settle, right? Or bother white from here. Downside, obviously, is that white can get the corner, but we can benefit in other ways, right? Yeah, or we play here, white plays here, and we move on with our lives, right? And maybe black plays here now. Okay, and if white does something like this first, whatever, then we're gonna press. And there's a lot of Joseki that press like this, right? There's a lot of Joseki like that. So, you know, I mean, we've seen it in many shapes and forms. There's a lot of variations like that from like the one space low situation, for example, like this. Okay, let's circle back to the question. The question is something about, oh, this push. You shouldn't push unless, like, are you gonna cut? The cut's not really working right now, so you shouldn't push. You can push more here if you want, which does not require this push. Just push here, push here. That's something you could do. And then like that. Circling back to this thing again. Is it efficient enough? Well, it does get a good enough AI score, if that's kind of the answer to your question. Like, because we get Sente too, right? Like if white saves this, something like that, then we get good influence and we also get Sente. So yeah, like the AI, it's like white starts off the game with, well, it varies actually, but right now OGS says 0.3, often as 0.2, right? Obviously, if we have a 7.5 Komi, then it's going to be closer to 1 point. But typically, white's ahead by 0.2, 0.3. And at the end of this, it's white plus 0.5, which means we only lost 0.2, 1/5 of a point, in order to achieve this simplicity. Kind of nice, right? 0.2 is incredibly small. Consider that when black plays a oh, I guess the AI keeps changing, because in the past when I would put a 3-4 point, I would lose a little bit of score. And then yeah, this is weird though, because now when I do it, it's not changing the score. Like I've done countless AI Sensei game reviews, for example, and I remember just in general, yeah, when I would do my double 3-4 opening, I would lose like 0.2 or 0.3 from those moves. But I guess Katago and these engines, they keep evolving and changing anyway, right? So anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, that just goes to show that 0.2, 0.3, nobody cares. Who cares? Yeah, so let's look at it again. We are gonna play, let's set up what we had. We're gonna play elephant jump. Elephant jump. And then white plays this one or this one. We're going to play here. And after this, we're gonna take the corner or bother white from this side. If white plays here or here, we're going to press. Nice and simple. That's it. That's it. And guess what? If you do put your stone here, which I don't recommend, and instead of playing here, they played something like that, well, guess what the next AI move is? Usually when I check, it's here. But actually, the top move right now is showing here. But every other time that I've checked, it's been here. And anyway, 0.1, same thing. Yeah, or if white plays this one. Okay, slightly different. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, this is one of the top moves for the next move. So even when we change the order of moves, it still wants to do this strange looking double diagonal. 3 in a row. Okay, there's a little bit more to talk about with that. So I guess there isn't that much more to talk about, actually. If white plays over here, then you could still press if you want to. You can also pincer from this side. You always have access to this attachment if you ever need it. So yeah, there's a nice move for you guys to deal with the, let's call it the Arunis pincer. E13. So there's also this move. I'm going to show you guys another one. This is the move that, this is like, we can call it the Ben move at this point because I'm the only one I've ever seen play it. But it's very simple, right? Very, very simple. Get away from all the complications. And we lose, literally we lose like 0.2. According to the OGS AI, AI Sensei shows me something a little different, but way less than a point is what we're losing. So there's also this move. Now you should choose this in like, keep in mind that if white getting a wall here is particularly amazing for white, depending on what was here, then like that's the whole point of having different Joseki moves to choose, right? Is you should choose them according to the board, right? But this is also an option. This is actually the first thing that I explored when I was coming up with, like at a previous point in time when I was trying to come up with dodging moves. White pushes. This is also a pretty good AI score. This is like a pretty positively received move. And then black jumps. There are some variations off of like Haneying here, but it's really complex. This one's going to be easy. So first of all, if white plays somewhere on this side, we can just play Tiger Mouth. And then something like this and this. And then, you know, maybe black is going to bother white from here now. And 3-3 is going to be attractive too. Easy, right? We still have access to the corner. We can do this. We have good influence in the center. We're pretty thick, actually. We have access to this kind of move too. So we can do anything we want now. And even if white plays this a bit different, like puts this one a little farther, white really didn't make that much yet, right? They made a little bit over here, and they made a tiny bit there. Like, it's not a big deal at all. So that's that. And if white breaks the tiger mouth here, we're going to play this one. We're not going to connect. We're going to play fast and start to overwhelm that white corner. Now, white is fine, right? White can play this or attach and play here. But black plays here now. Black is also quite fine. Black is even going to have this attach. This is like a lot of stuff I'm showing at this point. So you guys will want to, if you really want to like dive deep into this stuff, you'll want to go back to the video, of course. But I omitted as many variations and lines as I could that we didn't need to learn or care about, and that is like needless complication. So I'm just showing some more follow-ups that kind of help you see why black is quite fine. So the fact that we can attach here, because if white goes for it, we can cut and here and then hurt white's corner. And actually, even if white makes the corner alive like this, now we have a nasty, nasty attack here on white. And for a moment, you might think, oh, they got this and this and this. Isn't white better? No. How many points does white have? This thing is vulnerable to D19 and B18 Tetsuji there. This is like kind of, this is territory. But we have like an awesome attack here. And how many points did white really get? There's like a tiny bit here and then this. That's it. Also, because of the location of that stone, the 3/3 invasion down here is really, really great. Right? Because if we, let's say when we do it, we probably should attack here first, because look at how attractive that is. But locally over here, when white makes a wall here, the wall is going to be pretty close to that stone. So there's nothing for white to be especially happy about with that. And if they block here, then black is basically going to leak into what that stone was trying to make as territory, right? So normally you don't want to have a stone here when you're having a 4/4 point. It's a bad distance because of the 3/3 invasion, the way that the efficiency ends up. However, it is important for white to choose what's best for these 3 stones. So sometimes even high level players still do that kind of move when it is just the best for this group, and just put up with it a little bit for the corner, the slight, you know, inefficiency. So yeah, this black is pretty good. And a lot of this stuff also reverts to other stuff. So for example, if white kicks here, then we still go here. And if they, well, I guess here then we're gonna do tiger mouth. Wait, did I mix up the variation? This one, we have this one, and then tiger mouth, yeah. Anyway, what's the question? Can't black just attach at c17 when pincer? It's actually not very optimal. It's actually not very optimal. Like, yeah, you can settle this way, but we start to get into like the more suboptimal territory, I think. Now I don't know off the top of my head if white should Atari or extend. They're both okay. Maybe Atari. Maybe something like this. I don't know. That's one way I might imagine that going. You can do it, but yeah, it's not as good as some other variations. Attaching into the 3/4 like this tends to be not that great. Except, for example, when you ignore this, right? And white gets a stone here, then when you're already outnumbered and you're supposed to get a worse result than them anyway because you're outnumbered, then this kind of tactic like that, for example, becomes a lot more locally optimal. Because, yeah, you're not supposed to get much, and you actually can get a pretty decent sort of like result around here where, let's say white plays like this, then black has sente. Or black might connect. Yeah, so let me see. This one, and then here. Oh, I know what I'm mixing up. I was thinking of this one. There's something I still didn't show you guys for this one. I remember it now. It's the kick, right? What happens if they kick? So we looked at what happens if they play here, which is that we're going to press and they kind of trick themselves. And if they play one of these, then we're going to just play this. If they play this one, we can actually use that technique again. Remember from earlier? We can do this one, attach, and here, and then just press. And if they kick, we're going to go up, they're going to extend, and then just press. Just like that. Yeah, that's the missing variation is this kick. Going back to this one. Yeah, then we play here. So if they kick, we're still going to just do this. And if they slide, then we're going to play knight's move. They should help this group, and then we can play here. And soon we want to play also here. What else are we missing? If they try to, you might be worried about this. This is actually not a problem because when black just block like that, white doesn't have the liberties to do anything, right? If they cut them, then they die. Even if they have this one first, they're still gonna have horrible problems here because of this kind of stuff. Maybe we can just go out first, or here first, and then go here. Yeah, white's in big danger, big trouble. Maybe pushing first could be good. And then just go out, and then whatever white does, we can, yeah, start to basically capture this white group. So yeah, basically they don't have the liberties to cut through this. So if they try to attach through to say that you're too thin, right? You're not too thin. You just do this and just do this. So there you go. That's why if you do choose this one and you like it better than this one, right? Then they push, you jump. If they don't peep you, then you're gonna soon, when you can, you're gonna take the tiger mouth. And if they peep you, then you're gonna play this one. They can't cut here because it's just a ladder. Even if it wasn't ladder, you would probably, I'm making this up right now, but like you just sacrifice like this and brutalize their corner, right? Like this would be atrociously bad for white. I mean, they are pretty thick here, but black looks a lot better. Let me verify. Yeah. You never know with AI. I had to check, okay? I had to check. Right, so yeah, I hope that gives you guys confidence to play this very, very thin looking shape here. Doesn't it look like very wispy and smoky? It's like, how can we even play that, right? It's like our shape is ethereal. It's kind of cool, right? All right, let us move on to this one. Actually, we already did this one, right? Just go here. So actually, what we'll do is we'll summarize. We're gonna move on to the final one, which is gonna be this, but I wanna do some summarizing first to just make sure we all remember stuff. Okay, so with the low pincer, what we can do is, well, with any of these pincers, you can tanuki, right? Like for example, with this one, if white ends up like this, you still have life there, like 1, 2, 3, just like that, or bumping and playing like this, right? Or, I mean, it can go all kinds of ways. Like they could turn and then end up like this, but basically, it's not dead yet. Even wedge, depending on ladders, like this ladder. Actually, that's the only ladder. Yeah, the other ladder would be just white losing their stone. Probably here. Yeah, anyway. So actually wedge is probably better than this one if you can. So like this, here, this one. And then maybe white plays this. And something like that. And black is alive. So the fact that white needs another move, right? They have to come back and play here or here. Then white is pretty concentrated. So your stone being dead is actually fine. Okay. So tanuki aside, jump, push, 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 and then pincer. If they sacrifice, then just capture with D12. If they go out, then just remember what we talked about. We do want to prevent this tiger mouth in general. And whether they connect or they go here, we should probably push out here a bit more so we don't get surrounded. The left side black, the lower black group, is not in any real danger yet. So no worries. If white tries to pincer, you should just go ahead and punish on this side. You're not going to die. You're not going to die with the stick on the left. So just go ahead and punish with this. Yeah, white needs to respond. And then you can jump. And then this. And then approach, or maybe this one or this one. Anything is fine. And if they jump out, then we just cap. And then they go out somehow, we go out, no problem. We get territory, they get territory. Okay, and then with the 2 space low, we had a few options, but we like this one, which is like, yeah, if they come in between, we press, dun, 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 and then block. And they can't cut because cut is just gonna destroy themselves. So they play peaceful moves, and then we go here, or like this, still here. And then we can press or take the corner. What else? What else? Okay. And there was also this one. And here, and then press. Or if they play something on that side, then we can take the Tygem mouth. What else? What else? What else? That was pretty much it for that, I think. Okay, and then this one. This one, because white's high, we can actually jump, and then instead of pushing along, we could just slide here. And we can also look forward to this slide at A. If they push here, no problem, just extend. Let's now move on to this one. This is the last one we're going to look at. Okay, ideas. F16, yeah. You know, F16 can actually turn into this other complicated one. This one. The Arunas pincer pinwheel thing. Because wait. What was it? No, this one. Yeah. Because if they cross-cut like this, and if we go down, then it turns into it. And we can't go here because this gives them too much territory. This is really good for white. So maybe here then. But this is still difficult fighting. White's definitely going to move this this group. No, 3-3 is no good. 3-3 is good. However, 3-3 goes into their plan, which is this complicated thing here. And this class is not about showing you how to do this one, which is going to be complicated, like going off of like this move. Not the class, right? So we're trying to avoid this because this is the thing that white would have studied that we're trying to avoid because they know it, right? And it's complicated. And one of the points of this class is for these variations I'm offering to be not only close to optimal, but or optimal enough, but highly accessible even for highly untechnical players. Let's call it that. C18. No, C18 is what you want them to play. Actually, they can. C18 is actually still difficult for black because you have to figure out how to efficiently play. You can't just play here. Look at this, is so tiny. You can't do that. So even from here, black has some challenge. So we're trying to avoid that. The challenge is coming from the stone is so close to us. And also, like if the white stone were one space closer, right? So for example, if we had the one space low pincer, and then dun 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 here, and then now we could play here and have an excellent miai of A and B. But this time, the white stone is a little bit farther down, so it's not so easy. It changes everything. You could try to play here, but it's not so simple because they can do stuff. Maybe even here directly. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's gonna be more complicated. They even during that complicated fighting, they have space to extend here too, so they can easily survive inside. So what we're gonna do with this one is a move that I came up with one day on Twitch when I was exploring ideas and you know, with AI, and just like picked one up using basic Go ideas though that like already exist, of course, which is this one. So the point of this one is if your opponent plays somewhere here, we are going to press again. And yes, this is still relatively AI friendly. So currently it is black plus 0.2. Apparently AI doesn't like this very much, this pincer. And when we play here, we lose half a point, which is still nothing. And then this press is the AI move, which, I mean, any strong human player would also think of this press, but yeah. I mean, they wouldn't even play this move if they weren't thinking about the press. So yeah, if white plays around here or here, whatever, then we're going to press. And the press kind of speaks for itself. Like if your opponent pushes and cuts, this is not a very good situation for white to push and cut because it's very easy fighting for black. So I'm not going to play out variations here and help you with this. This is just like, you know, this is the stuff you're on your own for, just like anything in Go, right? It's like if you approach and then your opponent plays something like this, right? I mean, this is technically a trick Joseki, so we could talk about it sometime, but if your opponent does something weird, you're on your own, right? Just destroy them, right? Just destroy them. Annihilate them. No, but you know, like your opponent does weird stuff, or your opponent does like I don't know, crazy stuff, like, yeah, you're on your own. I mean, we can't memorize everything, right? Yeah, I mean, that's all you have to do, just destroy them. It's that easy, right? Like what's the problem? Okay, so let's assume that black wants to avoid the press because they're like, hey, that's too easy. I'm not gonna let you. So they do somewhere on this side, like this one or this one, right? What do we play now? Any ideas? How do we play, which also makes some kind of use of our E13? Where do we want to play? E17, actually not really, because it's going to be hard for us to get a very efficient result after this. Like, let's say you play here, they bump, maybe they push. It starts to turn into a shape where maybe we didn't really need a stone at E13. C13. No, C13. The problem with C13 is whether they Hane or even just peep, like it's going to be too close to our other stone. So this is becoming inefficient. Same with this. Like if you get this kind of shape, you're quite inefficient now. It's going to be this one. At least that's one of the ideas. Press. Press, press, press. Yeah. And if your opponent plays here, then even just this one. This is actually good enough. They push, then we can jump because we have the diagonal. Whenever you have this kind of diagonal, right, you should think of jump as the first move because they cannot create cutting points. That's completely safe, right? So when you have a diagonal, you shouldn't think of extending as your first instinct. You should have a jump instinct. Yeah. So white's just getting influenced. That's kind of what this is. It's kind of like if they 3-3, right? And you press, and we do this kind of Joseki. It's like territory for influence, right? Think of it like that a little bit. This part is unfinished, and we still have this attach. So you might look at this and feel like you like black better here than over here. Maybe, I don't know. But you have to consider that this thing is not fully settled yet, and we still have the attach to make this thing tiny. Also, our influence here is, I guess it's comparable. I think it's a little bit thicker than this one, I would say. Feels a bit stronger. Maybe it's similar. Yeah. And so, yeah, if they play anything on this side, we can just press. If they attach here... Okay, does which stone at d4 matter for f16? d4, d4, d4. I don't think so. No, still just play there. Yeah. Now, that question surprised me a bit. I'm wondering if do you have the AI on? Is that why you asked about d4? Because AI is usually on for us by default, which is just OGS being like that. But if AI is on for you guys, it's going to confuse you because, like, I actually set up the board with no... I mean, in the first place, we should set up the corners, right? We should put... I mean, whenever we talk about a local corner like this and we have empty corners, you need to assume that I'm isolating this off from the world, right? Where we're not thinking about the actual game. But if it makes it less confusing, yeah, I could do like I did for the other pincers. I think I set up, like, at least in the beginning I set it up, I think, like this and then like that. But d4 is not really that related here. At least it's definitely not related to f16. This and this have no connection. But I did notice that when I had it a second ago, like this, and then I click on the AI, I see that the d4 is the AI move. But yeah, I mean, the AI is always going to want to... Anyone should take the empty corner, and empty corner is the best. Yeah. Wondering if it affected ability of black to attack the... I see. The d10. Like for white to it. Yeah, it definitely... You're right that it has that connection, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that this move in particular, but I think... Yeah, no, your question... I see. You have a valid question. Yeah, so... You're definitely right that it definitely feels good if we have a stone here, because then after some stuff happens here, then we can bother black with this one, right? Yep, that's actually quite valid. I mean, it's actually the same with all of the Joseki we looked at today, which is like, if we have the corner which is near their other group, then it's always going to be a little bit better for us than otherwise. Almost always. So next I should show you guys how to deal with this attach. And also maybe this move. If black plays here, all we're gonna do is go down like this. And then you can press, you can even pincer in this case. But it's pretty easy for white to continue here. And if this one, or yeah, if black plays somewhere here, and then you play here and black attaches, then still we're just going to play like this. Yeah. Or like here. And then if they play this way, we can bump here and then jump. and then like that. F16, F16, F16. I'll rewind and talk about each thing just to be less confusing. So if they play anything around there, we're going to press. If they attach here, we will block it. And then if they play here, you can do some kind of forcing move here if you want, but mainly the next move is to be on the left side. So pincer or maybe press. The reason pincer becomes one of the options is partly because we have a emergency connection available at B12 as well. But I think press is simple. If you want simple, then just here is very simple. And if they respond to this with a move that way, then we can bump here to threaten cut and then jump. And then if they peep us, we're going to block, and we're not even going to block here because this cut is also going to set up their cut over here. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to give way here. And just, it's good for white actually. So black actually should not even, I don't think black should even do this. They should just go here. This exchange is too good for white. Because white, if white's clever enough, they'll just go there. Even if black Atari's here, we just give up 2 stones very easily. And it's, yeah, bad for black. So it should be like this and here and here. This white move is optional, but yeah, you can add this move. And then here and jump. Again, diagonal means we should jump. So easy peasy. And white has endgames against both sides. So even black's territory isn't that much. And if they play somewhere here, we are going to press from here. Even if they play like this, we can just keep disconnecting them. And then, yeah, just from here, maybe just diagonal. Easy. Okay, what else? If they attach here, let's talk about this. So if they attach here, naturally we hane. And then if you want to be really simple, right? Really simple, then just connect. And then after this, you can just push. Now let's actually set up the board. I think it's better if we have the board actually. So attach. So yeah, connect. They settle this part, then just push. And just push. And then maybe 3-3. Black has pretty good influence, so it's actually okay. It's not the most optimal, but I still believe that it's a good enough score to play, especially for those who want to keep things very simple. And we still have access to this attach and stuff like that, so yeah. If they jump, then we're gonna wedge and like that, and then maybe 3-3. 3-3 at least looks very attractive. This is attractive too, but it can be slow. In the future, there's also like pressing here and playing like this. You get some good center action going. Okay, for those who want to be a little bit more like AI optimal, right, compared to the connect here, what you can do is you can either peep here, and then if your opponent tries to cut, then you can switch to the press. The press is going to threaten the corner and the stone over here at the same time. So white shouldn't really cut, but probably just play somewhere there. And now you can just push and cut this, which is so nice and simple in terms of like how to play, right? So simple. If they fix somehow, right, then we just, actually you could even pincer now and play something like that. And white is, you know, having an annoying time. Or if you want your own shape to be simpler, you know, less like cuttable and disconnected, then you can just play here again. And this cut still doesn't work for white. So this move is multi-purpose. It's very nice. Another way you can play is that in terms of the move order, instead of here, you could go directly here. And then if they cut, you revert it back by playing this again. It changes back. Nice and simple. So when you have this shape, this cut doesn't exist because it just gets captured. So now I realize that we've started to delve into like variations kind of territory now. So you wouldn't expect yourself to remember all this stuff in one go anyway. Even though I've simplified a lot of things, this is still one of those videos that you have to go back to, and you definitely want to put this stuff into actual practice in your games, like ASAP, right? Let's see, did I finish? Yeah, so you can connect, you can play here, or you can play this one. Connect is the simplest, and then there's like these two moves. Okay, so let's do a quick summary of what we've covered. We did touch on some concepts, like the concept of the running battles and group dynamics and stuff like that. I'm gonna just also pass on, man, these tournament announcement pop-ups have been spamming the OGS page all day. I keep closing them and they pop up, and I close it and it pops up. Oh man. Anyway, it's just funny. Right, so let's do some summarizing. But in terms of going back to the video, I do also recommend you guys to do a lot of thinking about the actual concept and fighting type stuff we talked about, because that's something that would actually affect your game in a much bigger way, rather than like learning just like a certain, even when we're learning Joseki, right? You really want to think of the moves in terms of like techniques, right? You want to get these things under your belt in a generalizable way, okay? Don't just memorize Joseki like so that it's used in one specific case. Like, you really want to think of them as like the individual moves that make up, like each of those moves deserves study. And you learn the moves. You don't learn the Joseki, you learn the moves, okay? If you do it like that, you're gonna do it way better than everyone. Because that's really what it is. You have to understand the moves on an individual basis, and then you end up just being better at Go. Because those moves, each of those moves is actually so general. Actually, it's comes up in so many other contexts. Okay, let's do some quick summarizing though of the actual pincers, which was the main focus of the class. Not the only content, but the main focus. We did start off by looking at this technique, right? And this actually touched on the topic of stone efficiency, right? Because we saw that the exchange here became an inefficient one for black, a good one for white, right? So that's another separate topic that was related, but I do think that that's worth remembering as well. It's we also saw a lot of Tewari in this class, right? But okay, back to the pincers. So with this one, actually let's set up the board again. With this one, my main recommendation is push, push, and then pincer. With the 2-space low pincer, I don't recommend the jump because, well, technically you can still do the push, push, pincer thing. Although I recommend that more when this is a black corner. Because this stone being farther away from black, it's like harder, a little bit harder to attack it, harder to surround it, etc. You could still do it. You could still try. It's just like a tougher fight this time. You could do it though. You could absolutely do it. Even if I check the AI right now. Yeah, white's ahead by 0.7, which means black only lost half a point. Not a big deal. But what I really recommend here is actually this one. This is the simplest. Yeah. So they play somewhere on that side. You're going to go here, which is going to create miai of A and B. And B can also be C. But B is like obviously the simplest because we're just settling. And if they come in between, they fall into our trap and we're going to press here. They can't cut because it gives us way too much in the corner. So we just trade, even just like that. And if they respond like this, then we go back and block, and then their D14 doesn't make sense anymore. And they can't cut here because it's self-destruction again. With even many ways to do it, like even just this one and then this one. So, yeah. All you have to do is stop there and read for a bit. I think even those of you in the range of, let's say 10, like, even those of you in the more like 12Q or somewhere there, I think can figure that if you give yourself time, you'll be able to figure out how to punish white here. Because there are several ways. Yeah. Like white has so many cutting points and so many liberty shortages, right? There has to be something, right? Okay. What else was there here? So if they kick, we're just going to simply go up like this. And they should avoid getting surrounded. And then we can press. Yeah. If they play somewhere here, we're going to just pincer. Or if you want to avoid this kind of complication, you don't want to think about it too much, then you can attach and even extend. And this is still going to be some good thickness for black. And white even has a strange weakness inside at A. So black is also good enough here, I think. Yeah. Okay. We also looked at this one, which is like white usually would want to push here and then jump. If white plays somewhere on that side, we are going to take the tiger mouth here. If white did that one though, then we also have an opportunity to use this technique if we want to use this. And then we switch to the tiger mouth again. Yeah, easy. And if they peep us, then we're going to use this move. And yeah, if they kick and play here, then we have this knight's move, and we also have this attach at A after. And obviously, if they do something else, we're just going to start to bother the corner a lot. And then probably extend on the top side soon. Okay. And then we looked at the high one. The high one, I have a really easy recommendation, which is the jump and slide. And the reason we do that here and not in the other situations is because we have also another slide over here available after. Finally, the high, one space high approach and two space low pincer, we're going to use this interesting knight's move here, which is creating miai of A and B. And we just recently covered those variations, even like summarizing them, so I don't think we need to do that again. So yeah, that's going to be that. I suppose you can start with whichever one has come up in your games the most, whichever pincer people are doing to you, and start from there. And then, you know, maybe as you experience those pincers in your games, come back to this video. Another reason to come back to this video would be for some of the concept stuff we talked about. So especially earlier on in the video, right? Because that's like the general Go stuff that is valuable. All right, hope you guys could get something from that, get some interesting ideas, maybe a few surprises, and maybe some inspiration to, you know, to be able to face against these pincers and the people who play them. And also maybe like inspiration in the sense of like how many options we really have that are actually still pretty optimal enough, you know? There's so many different moves we can actually choose, even that were never in like the old Joseki books and stuff, that are within half a point of the best moves and that are very acceptable. Okay, yeah. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.